Welcome to the Turtle Tea Podcast.
My name is Flipper the Turtle.
And my name is Shelly the Turtle.
And today we're going to talk about, this Nikocado Avocado drama that has taken place.
Yes. Today, the internet was broken with Nicocado's new video where he did a massive reveal of a huge amount of weight loss. Approximately 250 pounds, he claims.
That's crazy.
Yes. And if you know anything about Nikocado Avocado, you'll know that that was very different than what he was posting just a little bit ago.
Yeah, I'm actually coming at this from a kind of an outside perspective. I really have not followed Nikocado Avocado at all outside of just little mentions here and there. So not only do I not really know what his channel's about, I didn't even know that apparently he hasn't posted on his main channel in a while.
Yeah, but you must have known him as a persona of the internet.
Oh yeah, no, I knew that he was like a big mukbang eater. He was like really crazy and loud, and he was really out there.
That's right. Let's do a little bit of history lesson here for yourself and maybe some other folks listening to this that don't know that much about him, right?
Flipper needs some context.
Yes. So Nikocado Avocado actually started his channel just doing like little videos here and there of like random things, and then he kind of fell into the vegan food like niche. He was a vegan and he was very much someone who preached about like a healthy lifestyle in the beginning, which came to be a little ironic in the end.
That is actually pretty interesting, yeah.
Yes. He also is like a very talented violinist, which is like crazy and mind blowing because when you see him playing the violin, you just see like such a sophisticated person, which is a huge contrast with like the crazy persona that he later portrayed himself as.
I think I've seen a clip of him playing the violin. Did you show me that?
Probably, yes.
Yeah, he's really good actually.
He is. Then throughout the years, he had like a falling out with the vegan community. He was just kind of upset because, some of them were very judgmental on the internet and stuff like that. And so he stopped being a vegan. And then he just like dove into the mukbang thing, but like a little too much.
Gotcha.
That is when we see him start eating like huge quantities of food, but not only huge quantities, but also unhealthy food. So he would buy tons of like fast food, like, all of these fast food chains with burgers and fries and noodles and all sorts of things to a like ridiculous amount.
It's very interesting that he started out as a healthy vegan influencer and like from there went into unhealthy fast food mukbang. And from what I've seen, he doesn't just do unhealthy. He doesn't just do a lot of food. He does a lot of food. It isn't a plate of noodles, it's a platter. It's not a burger, it's five. Is that right?
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, mukbangs initially started as a Korean thing, I believe, or if not more like in the Eastern Asian countries, where people would sit and eat in front of the camera so that the person watching at home feels like they're eating with a friend. So it wasn't necessarily something that had to do with eating large quantities of food. It was just like hanging out with someone, which I actually really appreciate.
That's kind of wholesome.
It is. And so whenever the mukbangs kind of evolved into huge quantities of food, personally, it really like kind of grossed me out, and it was not something that I enjoyed to watch. However, I have watched in the past other creators that just eat like a normal amount of food, and I've actually enjoyed watching those mukbangs with them.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Again, this is something I've not really gotten into or ever watched. I've never watched any mukbang YouTubers, never really gotten into that kind of space. And so it's another thing where like I didn't know Nikocado Avocado, but I also don't watch mukbang videos. And I also have never really watched anything within the vegan community, so he flew completely under my radar.
But I'm sure you have heard of him because of the various drama he's been in, because along with his mukbangs that got more and more monstrous every time, he also turned up the drama. He kind of went from like a regular guy to being like more sassy and opinionated to finally being like, and this is how he would portray himself, like a monster of a person, like screaming, dramatic, disgusting, like throwing things. In the beginning of his channel, he even started with his partner Orlin, his boyfriend. Orlin also gained a lot of weight with him, and then they would get on like horrible like relationship fights on camera, where they would like throw food at each other and smash cakes into each other's face and just scream and be like, "You've ruined my life." So a lot of very intense emotions that he would pair along with the mukbang. So basically, like I said, everything like turned up to 100 in this like character that he created.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the point, I think I do remember, was he like in a big blowout with Trisha Paytas?
He was, because there was a time where Nikocado caught Trisha Paytas's attention, and she basically said like, "Oh, I would love to like have you on my channel and, you know, talk to you in person." And he was at the time living in Colombia with his boyfriend, because his boyfriend is from there. And so a completely different country in South America, right? And he said, "You know, Trisha, I'm actually about to fly to the US because I got to renew my tourist visa. So I'm going to like leave Colombia and come back in. So this would be a great time for us to meet up in LA." And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So he buys the ticket, goes to LA, and when he gets there, he claims that Trisha Paytas had ghosted him.
Gotcha. And so what did he do?
Well, he tried to message her multiple times and she never got back to him.
Well, that really sucks. Like, that'd make me feel like crap if I was literally told, "Hey, come hang out," and like I got ghosted like that. That would really suck.
Yeah, and you know, obviously he was an up and coming creator, but Trisha was a huge deal at the time, so of course he was excited to meet her, probably a huge fan of hers. In fact, a lot of people believe that his Nikocado persona was inspired by Trisha Paytas, who is also known for being, back in the day, very dramatic, crying on her kitchen floor, that kind of thing, having like relationship outbursts on camera.
Now, I get that from his point of view probably really sucked, but you did say he claimed that happened. I'm assuming that Trisha had something else to say.
Of course, everyone's gonna have their side of the story. Trisha claimed that they never actually set a day, that she was very busy at the time, and things just kind of happened, that he impulsively bought the tickets and like didn't really like plan out properly with her. And so yeah, it kind of ended like that. But I believe that years later they actually filmed a podcast together on Trisha's channel. So I guess there was some sort of reconciliation there. Nevertheless, he has had drama with multiple creators just because, you know, he would seek out this drama.
Seems like he's kind of an attention seeker.
For sure. But aren't we all on YouTube?
That's a really good point. Very true.
Yes. Now, of course, there's levels to it. Some people are willing to do anything for views, and honestly, this seems like the case. So, Nikocado, like I said, escalated his persona, and many people would think that this was actually who he really was. He was just like a terrible person, doing all this drama. Funnily enough, a couple of days ago, before he came out with this reveal, I actually was watching another creator's YouTube video, iNabber, who has like over 1 million subscribers. He posted a 7-hour Nikocado Avocado video explaining all the lore behind it. So even though I was quite familiar with him already, that also gave me some further insight. And then a couple days later, Sunny V2 also posted a video about the same person. And so it was funny to watch those videos and then immediately after see what happened here. And one of the things that I actually took from those videos that I told Flipper was, wow, I can't believe that people actually believe that this is like a real person. It is clearly a character. Remember that?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. You did say that to me
Yes.
days ago.
Yes.
Days ago.
And while I don't condone Nikokado's actions, sometimes I did find him like a little bit funny because just like the expressions he would do were so absolutely ridiculous that it was obvious that no real person would be doing that.
Yeah.
Like he would put himself in these very caricaturesque situations. Like he would just like jump around and make faces and things like that. That it's like, okay, obviously no one does this.
No. Nobody acts the way that I've well, from what I've seen of him now, the very little bit I have seen, it's blatantly obvious that it's a character.
Yes. Now, being a character, however, doesn't necessarily justify doing really bad things. And I think we can all agree on this.
Correct.
For instance, he was known to have huge drama with another mukbanger, Stephanie Sue at the time, where he actually just kind of like manipulated a group of friends and went behind their backs and tried to make her reveal things in a collab video that she was uncomfortable with in order to take this other creator down. And so he has always had this reputation of being like very calculated and manipulative. And I don't know if we can just now say, like, hey, he has redeemed himself and all those bad things never happened. I think those things, like, still happened and has nothing to do with his, like, acting as a crazy, overweight person.
Agreed. I feel like it's important, and you kind of made this point before. I'll let you make it again, but just in general, just because a person lost weight doesn't mean they're a good person now. Like for me, that makes it seem when people act like that, it's like fat people are evil and skinny people are good. No, there are good people who are fat and skinny, and there are evil people who are fat and skinny.
And that's the main problem that I'm having with this new era. But, you know, we haven't even gotten to there yet. So let's explain really what happened, right? So, Nikocado Avocado comes out with a video where he has completely changed his appearance. He has lost a ton of weight, as we alluded to in the beginning. And he actually, I believe, has 3 channels. Nikocado Avocado, the same name with a number 2 in the end, and then another one with a number 3 in the end, right? His latest video on his main channel was posted 7 months ago, which is a long time ago, but not like too long, right? However, he has posted, I believe, on his 3rd channel like just a few days ago. So he has been constantly posting, and he has other platforms too that he uses. This content creator is actually on a adult platform, the OF,
Oh,
as well as like Cameo, where you can like purchase messages from like famous people, whether they're celebrities or content creators. And it is a little bit of a mystery how he has continued to post on all platforms. Because what does he allude to in his video?
he alluded to that. He's been on this journey of losing weight and going through this physical transformation for years. 2 years.
Exactly. In fact, the new video that he posted doesn't really go into that much detail about like what happened, what his journey was to lose the weight, how did he do it. It really just gives a little like monologue speech in the beginning, which we will address later as well, and then it just hints that it has been 2 years since he's been on camera. So therefore we can conclude with that he pre-filmed a big batch of videos back when he was at his heaviest to post throughout these 2 years on various platforms while he was losing weight secretly that no one knew about. That way he would surprise us all.
Which is really wild. It's like, why?
Well, in his own words, it is a social experiment. So, Nikocado has actually hinted throughout the years that there was going to be a moment where he would like lose all the weight. In fact, he said that he was going to continue with this shtick until he was like 30 and then he would stop and lose the weight. However, when he said that, after that, he gained even more weight. So people were like, oh, well, obviously this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But he fooled us all.
Interesting. It is strange that this all took place the way it did. Was there any build up? Was there anything he ever like talked about with this kind of stuff outside of just hinting that he was going to lose it one day?
He actually starts his new video with a quote-unquote villainous monologue, which you actually found kind of cringy.
Oh yeah, and I would love to get into that, but maybe in a couple minutes.
And in this monologue, he uses kind of like poetic wording, for lack of a better word. He kind of just expresses like, I created a villain, you guys all fell for it, all of you are just like ants that follow each other. Basically just saying that like influencers can influence you to believe anything, and we all fell for it. Which, I mean, is kind of true, but he says it in a way, I guess he's kind of like taking on like a Joker persona or some sort of villainesque thing, which I mean, I think is interesting and funny. I actually really liked that.
Coming into this now and not really knowing what was going on, it was very. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. It was insanely cringy because all I kind of saw was this person sitting there, kind of doing this really. How do I say this? It was kind of like a very derivative villain monologue that you'd hear from like a student film or something, where he's describing how he's like some kind of mastermind, and it's like he pulled off. I mean, it was for it's cool because it was a troll. It was a 2-year troll of him losing weight and
More
then
like an 8-year troll
or
of him
or, or,
gaining weight and then losing weight.
or an 8-year troll, but he hasn't like overthrown a small country. He's not, you know, committed mass war crimes. I mean, he gained a lot of weight, got a bunch of money from YouTube, and then lost it. And I feel
You mean
like,
lost the weight, not the money?
well, maybe he'll lose the money too. I don't know. I don't know, but ultimately, I don't think the villain arc for me it kind of seemed more cope than anything.
What does that mean?
I feel like instead of this being an 8-year long con that he was doing, I feel like he was an out of control person who was bouncing from one thing to the next. He was uploading videos of himself playing the violin. He was doing this. He was doing health. He was doing vegan. He was doing mukbangs. And then he was an up and comer. And then he met other YouTubers and all this. And he was just like falling apart and rolling downhill. And then at some point where his life was falling apart, he recognized it and kind of swerved a little and has basically created this idea or this concept that he knew what he was doing all along. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely be the case, but it could also have been planned from before. But either way, you cannot deny that as a content creator, this is the first time, at least on YouTube, that someone has done something of this nature. And it is groundbreaking.
I mean, I guess I've also seen this in other places though. Like it isn't weight loss, for example, but I have seen YouTubers or other people post things like, "Oh, hey, look at me. I'm here at this place. Oh, hey, look at me. I'm here hanging out with my friends," on their Instagrams or on their like community pages, and then like 2 years later they're like, "Oh, by the way, I had a kid and I completely and totally played you all. My kid's already like a year and a half old now or something, and none of you knew because I was just posting old pictures of myself, and everyone was like, "Whoa, what? Oh, that's mind blowing." And so I've seen similar stuff. Definitely not a weight loss thing, especially not a weight loss this massive, and especially not with, because I do have to admit, 2 years of saved up videos, right? Filming enough videos and enough content and putting enough stuff together to be able to squeeze 2 years out of it while you lose the weight. That part for certain he planned. He absolutely planned that.
Mm-hmm.
So 100% props on that. But the villain thing for me was just very cringe.
Okay, but also this person is basically an entertainer, right? He's a comedian
Yeah.
with edgy comedy, which not everyone likes. Understandably so. I didn't even like it that much, but that's what he does, you know? You can tell that it's just someone who is very dramatic. And this is the way that they express things.
I could definitely say this. He gives, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but hanging out with kind of the outcasty nerdy kids who were like, oh man, what's the word? It's really interesting. I used to hang out with kids when I was younger who were very dramatic. You know what I mean? Who were like, I'm an outcast and
We
I'm
were
like super
all dramatic
powerful
when we were
and this and that.
teenagers.
But later in life, I found out there's actually a word for it in Japanese, and I'm forgetting the word right now. But the Japanese actually have a word for teenagers who think like this. But you can see something very similar in people who do like theater. I also hung out with theater kids in high school as well as when I went to college and stuff.
And you did theater yourself,
And I
too.
did theater myself, and these people can be like super cringy sometimes and super melodramatic. And it is a thin line between the people who are normal and can snap into that versus the people who just are always melodramatic and they're kind of a nightmare to be around. I feel like Nikocado Avocado might fall more into the nightmare side of things.
Yes, don't come for the theater kid community. But I get what you're saying. Some people take it to a little bit to the extreme, and instead of just being a character, they take it to their real lives, and then they're kind of like seeking out drama, right?
Correct.
Why don't you look up that Japanese word?
I'm going to do that right now. Okay. So I remembered that it had to do with having like delusions of grandeur, right? Like the concept as far as like this Japanese word is delusion. And so I'm looking at it here right now, and Google AI is telling us the Japanese term for a delusional teen is chunibyo, which translates to middle school syndrome. It's used to describe early teens who have delusions of grandeur, want to stand out, and believe they have hidden knowledge or secret powers. People with chunibyo may also act aggressively, defiantly, or boastfully. So that 100% is him.
Let me see the word here. I think it might be pronounced chunibyo, but I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Chunibyo, maybe.
Chunibyo.
Although who knows if that's right. Kind of see that being an appropriate word. At the same time, I kind of don't think it's that deep. I think the guy just came up with an idea. He had fun while he was doing it, you know, like being crazy, eating a lot. I mean, people like to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, let's do something to shock everyone and to keep myself relevant.
That's fair. For me, it comes down to if his like little, I don't know if diatribe is the correct word, but if his little monologue was actually something he sat there and practiced in front of the mirror to make it to like to give you that uber cringe, and he's like, oh my god, what else can I say to like make this silly, then I am 100% there for it. If he like hammed it up, if it was like a middle school theater production and super melodramatic, then cool. But the problem that I ran into is he wasn't sitting there and talking about how like he can shoot lightning bolts from his fingers and he can smell carrots with his eyes or whatever. He literally was sitting there very angrily, like very very demure. He was very demure, but he was, it seemed quite a little angry how people were making fun of him online, talking about how he was unhealthy, super judging him and calling him irrelevant and telling him he didn't matter. And that stuff like seemed to really bug him. And then after pointing out that people had said all these mean things, he then turned around and was like, "But don't you see I'm a step ahead?" So part of me
Two
feels
steps ahead.
2 steps ahead. Part of me's like, "Oh, bro, okay, so you're actually in this like super cringy delusion. So you're actually upset by the trolls and the haters, and like you're having, okay, cool, okay, so it's just cringe, okay."
And I will say he's not wrong though, because people love to hate on fat people. Like, it's one of the only still accepted kind of prejudices nowadays, because the excuse is, oh, well, they're unhealthy, so I'm just trying to help them. So he has a point with people calling him this and that. But to be fair, most fat people don't act crazy like he did. And so, really, what I would say most people were criticizing him on wasn't that, it was his actions. So, like, screaming at his partner, eating so much food, being disgusting, because he would put himself in really, like, degrading or ridiculous situations.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's arguments to both sides, right? Some people did feel that it was, how do you say it when it's like open to all? It was a free for
It was
all.
accessible to everyone.
Everyone could just criticize him because of his weight with the excuse that it's unhealthy. But on the other hand, we have people saying, well, no, we weren't criticizing his weight, we were criticizing his habits, his actions, his drama, right? So I can kind of see both sides.
I definitely am not a fan of people fat shaming, right? Like, I understand that in certain aspects, being overweight does have detrimental health effects and stuff like that, but I don't think people need to take it to the extreme of some of the horrible stuff people say. You know what I mean?
If people are fat, they already know they're fat. You don't need to tell them that they're fat. They're already dealing with issues.
And another thing is, although I really don't sit there and like want to be like, we need better fat representation. It's like, okay, I'm kind of just whatever about all that. But it did really bug me that he acted so crazy.
Absolutely.
And so part of me, like looking back on this now retroactively, another thing that really upsets me is that he how do I say this? Being a person who maybe had some rough years, right? Maybe wasn't doing great mentally, was in a relationship that wasn't going great, gained a lot of weight, really fell into like that attention addiction, just eating copious amounts of food, getting tons of views, whatever. Finally realizing it was unhealthy and bad, right? Finally let the hate get to you, saying, look, at 30, fine, I'll get rid of the weight, right? And having this villainous moment of, I'm going to trick the whole world for 2 years. After all those years of behaving poorly and making fat people look gross and nasty and running around with their shirt off and unflattering angles and consuming like ladlefuls of spaghetti with your apnea mask on, just all the horribleness, you would hope that the person would come back with some amount of clarity and class and be like, hey, that was crazy. I'm doing better. I've turned my life around, this and that, right? but it breaks my heart even more because growing up around fat kids and kind of being one myself, you understand the want to sit there and like, oh, lose the weight and I'm going to be the villain and I'm going to come out on top. But it's just so cringy now to be like, how do I put this? At the end of the day, I really don't think anyone cares that he lost the weight. The thing that I think has everyone talking is the subterfuge. It's the deception. It's the 2 years that he's been living a lie while simultaneously working on himself. That stuff. You know what I mean? But just getting healthy, losing the weight, at the end of the day, no one's going to care because he's still going to be crazy. He's still going to run around acting weird. And maybe he'll keep the weight off, but it's obvious he's not. He's still going to be that character. Do you know what I mean?
Well, in the first part of his video, we had that monologue. The second part was him just doing a regular mukbang where he ate a bunch of noodles, right? And this obviously shows that he's going to continue doing mukbangs. In fact, he had a part 2 video on his second channel where he did another mukbang like the next day of, again, a great amount of food. So something that's important to remember is that while weight and unhealthiness might have somewhat of a correlation, one does not equal the other. A fat person is not necessarily unhealthy, and a skinny person is not necessarily healthy, although there are factors that, make one more likely than the other, right? So, right now, first of all, I've never seen in person, I've never known any fat person that eats like that. Like when he was at his fattest doing the huge mukbangs. Like, to me, the fat people that I've known eat a normal amount, maybe a little more than they should, but usually there's other underlying factors that have made them gain weight, such as, invisible illness, thyroid issues, hormonal problems, etc. There's many a thing that can affect that.
Or having some kind of disability.
Yeah, of course.
Like being unable to like walk or run means that you're not able to as readily do cardio, which helps burn a lot of fat.
Yes. And so now seeing the second part of his video where he is skinny but still eating a huge amount of food, well, does that even mean that he's healthy? People are saying, well, these noodles that he was eating were like, I guess, bean noodles, so like a little bit healthier rather than eating like cheeseburgers with bacon, Still a lot of noodles. And it honestly concerns me a little bit because you can still be thin and eat copious amounts of food and be unhealthy. And so I kind of wish that his content would have pivoted a little bit more. But he said no, that he loves doing mukbangs and he's going to continue to do them. And, like I said, that's okay, but you didn't have to continue eating that much amount. Because I still think it's healthy for anyone, really. Just eating like a huge tray. I mean, honestly, after you do that, it just makes you feel sick, No one likes to feel like that after eating. You want to feel satisfied, but you don't want to feel ill. So I think he could have come back maybe with a little bit more of a transformation in his content as well.
I completely agree. Because, and this is one thing that's important to note, is as Shelly just discussed, you can lose all that weight. Doesn't mean your liver's okay. It might have scarring tissue, and it might still be coated in cholesterol. Your kidneys might be shot because of all the sodium you ate while you were overweight. Maybe he has a blown valve in his heart. Like, any number of these things could still be wrong with him. He's just skinny now. It is going to like help with things like joint pain and other stuff like that. He is going to be able to do cardio a lot more easily now, things like that. Sure, I will admit those things. But if he changes nothing else about his life, if he still acts the same, if he still eats the same, if he still does everything the same, if he's loud and screaming and throwing stuff, it's tantamount to just changing your wardrobe.
What's tantamount? What?
Tantamount means similar to.
I see.
It's similar to him just changing his wardrobe. Like, he always wore red, now he wears blue. Oh, well, he was fat, now he's skinny. So, okay, well,
But who is Nikocado inside?
well, and that's another thing that ultimately I think is a massive problem for him, because we've discussed in the past, what is the one thing that people want from their YouTubers? Authenticity.
Oh yeah.
They want you to be authentically you. They want you to foster this connection, right? They want to feel like they're a friend. And although it's very much everyone's kind of like shocked Pikachu face at his monologue and his I'm the puppet master and you're all ants. It is very much a thing that I think is going to bite him in the end, because what he's saying is he is literally saying, "Hey, this isn't me. You will never know who I am. I am actively lying to you. I am actively creating falsities because I know that it's going to get you to come back. And I can continue to do that. I can sit here, not go to work, not take care of myself, or take care of myself, do whatever I want, lie to you, and you're all going to give me money." And although this is like I said, like maybe it has some people shook, I don't think it's gonna be great for him in the long run.
It's the definition of anything for views.
Yeah.
Nikocado actually had posted a video, maybe like a while back, that he said he had a heart attack. Now, do we know if that was real or not? We do not know. It could be real, it could not be real. But if he did already, that's something that really hurt his health. If he did, in fact, lose 250 pounds in 2 years, we did the math and it translates to about 2.6 pounds a week, which is definitely doable. 2 pounds is not that much, but it is difficult because it requires consistency for 2 years. Now, if you're a person out there that has tried to lose weight, you know how difficult it is to be consistent for a long amount of time. And so
Yep.
that I definitely applaud, and it is doable. It is difficult. However, what people are not thinking about is there is still other consequences. For instance, he might have lots of loose skin. Nikocado is actually a millionaire. If you don't know, he has lots and lots of views on YouTube, which equals millionaire. And that means that he could have had like a facelift, tummy tuck, loose skin removal, all that. But that's still surgeries that you're submitting your body to if he decided to do those. And then, it's just never ideal. And so if he could have maybe built his channel on something else with authenticity that didn't require him doing this character, that would have been better in the end. But we also know that the internet loves crazy things. And so at the end of the day, he did get the views by creating this character. And maybe he wouldn't have otherwise. So I guess we'll never know. One thing that also we can notice is that the monologue that he does in the beginning mirrors a monologue that he did a while ago when he was like probably, if not at his heaviest, pretty much almost there, where he had actually alluded to the same thing. And it was almost word for word, that monologue, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Him having done the monologue previously is another reason why I feel like he may have actually been like really hurt by the online backlash against his like behavior and his character, right? And his health. And so upon losing the weight, he acted very chunibyo. He acted very like mustache twirly delusional. But at the same time, I don't know. What do you think?
I think he just had planned this from the beginning because that's what he said like multiple times, but like people didn't really believe him because he was this character. And so I think he planned it from the beginning.
Yeah. For me, it kind of makes me sad because I'm looking at this situation from a point of view that there's really only two outcomes, right? Either one, he really is this just terrible person, this horrible character, this out of control, kind of just cannonball, this loose cannonball, who then went topsy-turvy, lost all his weight, is sitting here and giving villain speeches, and it's like really sad and really cringe, and also he's a terrible person. Or he's hella fake and does everything for views, which means he's also a terrible person.
Either way, it's not great, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to that thing where he's just portraying fat people in a very, very, like, unflattering light and quite stereotypically in the worst way possible. After the monologue, he goes into this mukbang and stuff, and now that he's, like, skinny, he is portrayed as this very, like, peaceful person, just, like, happy, eating his noodles, and he is back with his parrot, which was a whole other drama, and we'll go into that in a bit as well. And he's just, like, hanging out with his pet and eating happily. And so, yeah, it just reinforces the whole fat equals crazy and bad, skinny equals peaceful and happy. But let us not forget that Nikocado is the same person.
Yeah.
So he was either this whole time a crazy cannonball, a bull in a china shop,
Yeah.
or he was this whole time a peaceful, mindful guy, or maybe somewhere in between, but like, it's not that the weight did anything to change that.
Yeah.
He either portrayed the character being crazy, or he's portraying a character now being peaceful. Or he's somewhere in the middle where he's honestly a little psychotic to come up with this plan, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I want us to go into now are some theories.
Okay, you first.
So, in the beginning of his video with the monologue, he is wearing a panda bear head, like almost like a furry, or like one of those characters that's on the street bringing customers into the store, you know, like a Mickey
Mouse.
Mascot. And so some people are saying that that is very interesting because Stephanie Sue, who is the other mukbanger lady that he had drama with in the past, her boyfriend actually wears, like, I believe, a panda head, like similar or the same or something, as to not reveal his identity when he's on her videos. So they're like, dang, is this like poking at her? What do you think about that?
I mean, it could be. Has this Stephanie Sue, or whatever her name is, has she come out and called him irrelevant?
Her main video, like the video with most views on her channel, I believe, is where she said that she was afraid of Nikocado, where she tells a story about how he was manipulating her and her friends behind the scenes to expose this other person, and that one day she invited Nikocado into her house, and she has a lot of security, like cameras inside of her house, due to an unfortunate SA incident that she had in the past, and so she's very, like, security focused. And so as soon as she went to the restroom, Nikocado was taking pictures and videos of her house, so just being really creepy. Nikocado then later came out and said, oh, it was because she was giving me a house tour. It's a very affluent house that she has, and so she was like, oh, like, this is my patio, and this is my living room, and he would be like, oh, where's that couch from? It's so nice. And she would say, oh, it's from the store. And so he claims that it was just to, like, document that kind of stuff so he could, like, look it up later. But she still claims that, no, that wasn't the case. He was just being, like, creepy, right? So, anyway, there was a lot of history between these two. Yeah, I mean, do you think that could have been, like, poking at her?
Part of me really hopes it wasn't, because if it was, then that just pushes me even more into the camp of, like, super sad and cringe to sit there and be weird, be creepy, be manipulative, and then when you do come up with this weird weight loss troll slash goal, whatever, to then come out and one of the first things you do is try and shade another person when you were the one who, like, went into their house and was creepy. Like, I don't know, I get really bad vibes.
Yeah, because within this whole drama, another thing that I haven't told you is that later when she said, you know what, our collab that we did made me uncomfortable. You were trying to push me to say things that I wasn't comfortable with about this other person. He later would like subtweet her and stuff like that. And he would say things like, oh, like people are so terrible. Like, but I have like recordings and all the receipts. And so she believes that he also like recorded her in their private conversations. So anyways, it just takes a huge dimension. So yes, the panda head may or may not be related to that, but other people are theorizing that, in his video, he actually says that it was the second time that he filmed it. And so other people are saying, like, oh, maybe, like, he just did the monologue well the first time. And so the second time he put the panda head on, which is just something that he had. It was probably a common prop that you can just find on the internet, just so he wouldn't have to show his face, so he would just like emote it with his arms and not have to say the whole thing again. Do you think that's a possibility?
That's a possibility. It did seem very ADR when I saw it.
Yes. Or even, I haven't compared the recordings word for word with his old video, which, by the way, if you want to find it, you can look at iNabber's video at hour 6 minute 54. So at 6:54 is where he starts like the conclusion that he references that Nikocado video, because, and I'm saying that because it's a lot harder to find it amongst the Nikocado videos because he just posts so many.
Yeah.
But he has that monologue, and I don't think it was word for word, but it was pretty much. So I wonder if, yeah, it was close. So I wonder if he did kind of like pre-record that and then just play it over his head with the thing. And then just to do a little bit of a dramatic reveal, because obviously while you can see that his arms are skinny, seeing his face was the most shocking because he was so skinny.
Yeah.
So that's theories about that. Other theories that people are having is, could it be that the real trolling of all this is that this is an old video that he filmed back in the day and not a new video? And so he's like reverse trolling us, So however many years ago he filmed this video knowing that someday he would post it in the future. The people that have this theory are saying that it makes sense, especially because of his pet, who is this cute little green parrot called Noodle. And they're saying that maybe this was from back then because, Noodle is still present, which he stopped appearing in his videos years ago. So do you think that's a possibility?
No. He looks old.
No, and I actually agree. Not that he looks old, but I've seen his videos from the past when he was equally skinny, and
yeah,
definitely I think his face has like matured accordingly.
And I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think he's that smart. Like, I hate to be kind of mean, but like having now watched clips of him like jumping up and down with the face mask on, with like spaghetti dribbling down his chest. I'm like, even if that's a character, I've met some real good actors who could pull off characters like that. Those same actors are not smart people, and they could not come up with with a double agent, double whammy, reverse. Yeah. Like they couldn't do that. They are not smart enough to do that, and I
see.
Nikocado Avocado did not pull this one out.
He keeps struggling to say his name. It is a bit of a tongue twister.
Nikocado Avocado.
Yes, I actually do think that the video is current and not old, but I can see where people, are thinking that. In regards to his pet, the parrot named Noodle, he did stop appearing in his videos a long time ago, and people are surprised that he's back. Some people theorize that it is actually a new parrot or a different parrot, because I think maybe the coloring on him is a little different or something. That one I'm not sure about. How long do parrots live? Let's Google that real quick.
Oh, it's a really long time.
Really?
Yeah,
Let's take a look.
Parrots and turtles and lizards, they can like outlive people. Okay, so something like a cockatoo could be 40 to 60 years.
Oh.
A cacapao is 60 years. A hyacinth macaw, which I believe is what he has, is some variant of that, is 50 years.
Seriously?
And African greys, conures, macaws, and cockatoos can live even up to 80 years or more. So, yeah.
Wow, I had no idea that parrots could live so long.
Yeah, turtles can live a couple hundred years, I think. So,
well,
like,
but that's a turtle. I didn't know that birds could live so long.
oh yeah, birds live a long time.
He did say in his video that it had been like 8 years since he was like living with Mr. Noodle, and I believe that that is probably because, well, there's two things. One is obviously he has had a life moving between the U.S. and Colombia due to his boyfriend slash husband, partner, whatever. I don't know if they're married officially, but I just call people that have a long-term relationship like husband or partner, Orlin, right? And so it could be because maybe the parrot was like, let's say in Colombia, and then he came to the U.S. for a longer time, and that could be one of the reasons. The other reason that I think could be is because he was doing this bit, which involved like a lot of like yelling and fighting, even if it was just fake. Regardless, you're still actually yelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he did say in the video, I don't remember if it was in the first or the second video, he did say something along the lines that parrots don't like loud noises, and so if that was the case, I think he could have, like, for instance, had the parrot stay like at a parent's house or something for this period of time, or it could be for many other reasons. Do you have an inkling of what do you think the reason was that the parrot disappeared?
Definitely. I've also heard that birds do not like super chaotic environments.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I had wings and the ability to just fly away from any toxicity, I would be so far away from everyone and everything. Away. It'd be like something would go down. I'd be like, "Fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm gonna fly away from here." So I totally get why birds would be like, no. And so the concept of locking a bird into a house or an apartment with people who are screaming and throwing stuff, probably that's got to stress a bird out.
Definitely not good. Okay. There's another theory that this Nikocado on this video where he is very thin is actually made through AI.
Yeah, it's BS.
Yeah. I also debunked that immediately. You can tell it's not AI, right?
Yeah, this isn't like what's her name? The Duchess of Cambridge.
Oh, Kate Middleton?
Yeah, this isn't like Kate Middleton where she has like 3 rows of teeth or some stuff like this. It's Nikocado Avocado. It's him. He looks like an avocado now, but it's still him.
I think he looked more like an avocado before because they have big tummy.
But now his head is just shaped like one. I don't like to body shame people. Nick, you're a person. There you go.
No, he actually looks really good. And he's always had like a nice face, nice hair, But going back to the theories. Now this is just fun, but a lot of people are pointing out that he looks like Trixie Mattel.
Oh my god,
out of drag.
No, he absolutely does.
He totally does. Yes, because Trixie just went on hiatus for mental health, like she's taking a sabbatical. And then people are like, wow, is this like Trixie Mattel after her sabbatical? So that was a funny thing.
Now it's like, wait, maybe they're the same person. Have you heard that joke where it's like, maybe the real something is the friends we made along the way, or like maybe the real treasure.
Yeah, like
so it's like maybe the real Nikocado Avocado. It's the friends we made along the way.
Yes, exactly. Some people are saying that like we're in a different timeline now.
Yeah.
I think Penguin Zero said we're back in the Berenstein Bears timeline and now the Berenstain Bears. And I'm like, yes.
Everybody in the comments is going to be like, it's always been the Berenstein Bears. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
It's like, oh.
They're gonna make us feel crazy. But I think that another very interesting thing about this whole story is that I believe a few other creators were in on this. And I wonder how that went about, because Oompaville, who does these like commentary videos, he had posted like a video with Nikocado about a year ago, at least according to his YouTube channel, right? But we know now that Nikocado has been gone for 2 years. So that means he probably filmed this 2 years ago and either told Oompaville what was going to happen or just in some way asked him to post it a year later. What do you think about that?
YouTube has been doing this thing lately where I look at something and it says, like, when was this? And it was like, what? YouTube will say 1 year ago. And I go, oh, really? And I'll click on it and it, like, came out in 2021.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, what? And it still just says 1 year ago. So check that and see if it was 1 year ago.
Okay, guys, so fact checking here, it looks like this Oompaville video was posted on November 7th, 2022.
So it's 2 years
So that's 2 years ago. Yeah, because we're in September, so almost to November, right? That's almost 2 years.
So I wonder if he went and did a bunch of collabs right before he started his journey.
Yes. And sometimes people do take a little bit to post because, of course, they have to edit it. Maybe they have other videos in line that they're going to post first, different sponsorships, whatever. So that could be the case. But I believe he's done other collabs too in this meantime. I do think that maybe a couple other select people might have been in on it.
It's totally probable, yeah.
Yeah. But considering that Nikocado is a millionaire, in fact, he has like a tour of his $2.3 million apartment. With that in mind, he could have easily built a gym inside of his house and never had to like go out to the gym to do so. Now that we've kind of debunked all the other theories, it's not AI, not an old video, etc. Do you think that he lost the weight with Ozempic or similar drugs? Or do you think that it was working out? Or do you think it was just eating less? What is your personal theory?
His build now looks like a runner's build. It's very lean. He isn't like super muscly. I know Ozempic leaves you looking very hollow looking, very gaunt. He doesn't look super gaunt.
That's true.
Maybe a little, but he doesn't have like Ozempic face, you know?
Yes.
And so definitely he's probably had some stuff done. My guess though is it was probably a lot of cardio, a lot of like going on walks and runs and stuff like that. And honestly, that would make more sense because that's the kind of stuff I think you need to do if you're having heart problems to like get your heart back and healthy.
Yeah, start with walking, then maybe walk a little faster. Eventually, maybe you can run depending on what the doctor says is okay for you. No, for sure. I think it maybe was like a combination of the three things. Maybe, I'm not sure. Did he say he had diabetes? I'm not sure, but if he did, I mean, these medications are definitely recommended to people that have that to assist in lowering blood sugars and protecting and helping them with other things in the body. Although, also, alert, watch out, and please look up these drugs before you go on them. Don't just, take it from your doctor if they say, hey, yeah, do a little research, because they also have some nasty side effects that, depending on who you are, you might not be the best candidate for it, right? But I do think that it could have been a combination of Ozempic or similar, and exercise, and just like overall eating less, of course. I don't think that he could have done mukbangs while trying to lose weight. But I also think it's a very slippery slope, and people have to be careful because, extreme eating and extreme weight loss can lead to disordered eating.
Yes.
And that could be a whole other problem that you don't want to get into. So, what he did is impressive, but it concerns me a bit. For various reasons, right? It's also not super healthy to lose weight super fast, but like as we mentioned, 2 pounds a week, I think that's actually reasonable, even though it's like technically a high amount that you're losing a week. I know that people might be like, what? 2 is like nothing. No, it is to do it in 7 days, you know? But I am glad that he did it over a long period of time, because if he had done it, like 6 months or something like that, then I would say definitely concerning. It's actually bad for your organs to lose weight so fast.
Mm.
So, with that, I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe in any of these crazy theories of maybe it's not like real? Do you have any other thoughts? How do you think that he lost the weight? I'm really curious to know. I also want to know, do you think that Nikocado Avocado is a character? Is he the same person? Is he still crazy inside, but he's portraying to be calm? Or the other way around? What do you think about all that?
Let us know in the comments down below. And also, definitely please give us a like and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going to try to come out with some more podcasts pretty soon.
And regardless of what you may think of Nikocado Avocado or Nicholas Perry, that is his actual, human name, I think that he pulled off a memorable stunt. Definitely one of the highlights of YouTube of 2024. And I think he got the town talking. So, props to him.
Yeah. If the point was to get some attention and to get people talking, you definitely achieved it.
Absolutely. Alright, guys, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.